Gli antichi Roma credevano molti dei. The ancient Roman Empire centered in what we now call Italy. The empire, though somewhat tolerant to the religion of conquered peoples, the state religion was a polytheistic religion. The names of those pagan gods are still preserved in modern culture, particularly in the names of the planets and solar bodies. Names like Jupiter, Saturn, Venus, Mars, Mercury, Neptune, and Pluto were names of Roman deities. However, as the empire slipped into decline, a new religion began spreading from Israel to the rest of the empire. It was the dawn of Christianity. Christianity was far from welcome. Christians were viewed as a subversive element. They didn't practice the state faith, and confusion over religious terminology, such as references to the body and blood of Christ, or the practice of calling each other brother or sister. The first persecution was under Emperor Nero, who blamed the Christians for a fire in Rome which Nero may have started himself. Persecutions continued on and off, leading to the infamous Great Persecution under Emperor Diocletian. Nel 313 DC, Imperator Constantine ha rilasciato l'Editto di Milano. The Edict of Milan put an end to the Great Persecution and made Christianity one of the religions tolerated by the empire. Constantine also gave the church benefits by limiting the practices of the pagan Roman religion. This favoritism is due to Constantine's belief that God led to his victories. When Constantine was about to go into battle against his greatest competitor for the throne, left empty after the death of the late Emperor Diocletian, he prayed to many deities of many faiths. He then, in a dream, saw the image of a cross, the symbol of Christianity. He had his soldiers paint the cross on their shields, and Constantine won the day. As a result, he attributed to the Christian God as the one who allowed him to win the battle and consequently become Emperor of the Romans. Constantius, the son of Constantine, continued to restrict paganism. His successor, Theodotus I, made Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire. Dopo 466 è finito di Roma. Il Papa era l'autorità prima nell'Europa. With the fall of Rome in 476, the empire that dominated Europe was destroyed. People, however, turned to Rome for guidance. But this time, it was to the Pope, not an emperor, that people looked for guidance. The Pope is the successor of St. Peter, who Christ gave the keys of heaven and hell and was charged with leading the church. St. Peter was active in the city of Rome, and the bishops of that city, the popes, are considered to be his successors, and thus the head of the church. As Rome declined, the papacy took a leadership role. The Pope convinced Attila the Hun not to attack that city, and it was the Pope who negotiated treaties to drive out the Lombard army, and it was the pontiff, not any Roman emperor, who named Charlemagne Emperor of the Romans, and through canon law, excommunication, and interdict, controlled warring kings and feudal lords. Il Scisma Grande, Pape di Roma e gli antipape di Pisa era in Italia. The schism, when three men claimed the papacy, two being Italians. The popes, who were in Rome, included Urban VI, whose election was the cause of the schism. Now, for several years before that, there were a long series of popes who lived in Avignon, France. And these French popes, though not necessarily lazy men, gave the impression of the church being under the control of the French king. The pope, right before Urban, was convinced by a saint to actually leave Avignon and return to Rome, where he died. So the cardinals held an election. There, they elected Urban VI, who turned out to be a tough reformer. So the French cardinals slipped away, and then decided, as many people, as would be typical of corrupt individuals, to say that he was not the real pope. They claimed that anger over the long series of French popes had caused a mob to come outside the Vatican in Italy and to chant a Roman, or at least an Italian, and pressure them into electing Urban. They claimed it was invalid. This, of course, as many historians have found, is a blatant lie, and thus they named the antipope in Avignon, of which a series of antipopes were included. Now the actual popes reigning during that era were Urban VI and his successors, Boniface IX, Innocent VII, and Gregory XII, the second to last pope to ever resign the position. One line of anti-popes, false papal claimants, was in Avignon, France, and included Clement VII, who was the one whom the French cardinals nominated, as well as Benedict XIII. Another of the anti-popes was in Pisa. Now, many individuals, seeing an issue with this schism, which was dividing the church, decided to hold a conference. There, they elected a new pope. They hoped that both papal claimants would step down. Naturally, this did not occur, and thus a third pope entered the arena. These popes were sent with Avignon and Rome already claimed. These popes began their reign in the Italian city of Pisa, and they included Alexander V and John the 23rd. This made North Italy the center of the schism. Papi erano regini forti che hanno avuto guerre con nobili italiano e dovevano all'arti. During the Renaissance, popes were strong yet controversial rulers. The popes were great patrons of the arts. Michelangelo, Raphael were commissioned by the popes. Such great feats as the statue of David and Moses, the painting of the Sistine Chapel, both the ceiling and the space behind the altar depicting the Last Judgment, as well as the tomb of Pope Julius II and the Pietà, Michelangelo's one of his most famous works, the only one signed by the Renaissance master himself. Also, such works of Raphael, such as the School of Athens, which was painted in the papal apartments. These were all financed by the papacy. The popes were also controversial. One very controversial pope was the militant Julius II, known rather unaffectionately as Papa Terribile, or Terrible Pope. He personally led wars to expand the papal states, personally leading armies into battle against Italian nobles, due to the provision in canon law that forbids a priest to take up the sword. You would think this impossible, but Julius found a way around it. Since it said sword, he charged right into battle with a mace. That's right. Another controversial figure was Pope Leo X, the son of Lorenzo the Magnificent di Medici. A cardinal at the age of 13, Pope Leo X is rumored to have remarked, when receiving the papacy. Now that God has given us the papacy, let us enjoy it. He was a secular man and a patron of the arts. It was said he had all the qualities needed for a pope, except an interest in religion. The most controversial of the Renaissance popes was Alexander VI. Now, Alexander VI, very controversial. He fathered at least 5 children before becoming pope, and used his authority to protect his family's interests rather than leading the religion. Nei anni barocco, gli pape erano deboli e vecchio. Regini secolari dominavano politici in Italia. Yeah. During the Baroque era, conflict between the Habsburgs and Bourbons led to a line of old, weak pontiffs. The Bourbons and Habsburgs dominated politics with the Habsburgs dominating Central Europe and Northern Italy, such as Venice, and the Bourbons dominating Western Europe and Southern Italy, such as the Spanish Bourbon rule in Naples. Con il Rivoluzione de Francia, le esercito de Francia conquistavano Roma. During the reign of the Committee of Public Safety, the French army invaded Italy, captured Rome, imprisoned the Pope, who died in France. The next Pope, Pope Pius VII, was elected in Venice because the anti-Christian French troops controlled Rome, making it too unsafe to hold a papal election. Despite this, Pius VII and the popes who came after him came back swinging. He made a concordat with the French ruler Napoleon Bonaparte. That concordat helped to bring the church back in France and return the popes to Rome. Even after the reign of Napoleon Bonaparte, the papacy continued to rule, especially through a treaty with Emperor Napoleon III, Louis Napoleon III, that protected the Papal States from the unification of Italy. Quando Italia era unito, il Vaticano non sono indipendente. With the advent of the Franco-Prussian War and the withdrawal of French troops from Rome, the armies of Piedmont and the Red Shirts conquered the Papal States. With the loss of independence and nationalism being high, the state took more central role in Italian culture. In il XX gli pape fare guerra a nazione secolare e iniqui in mondo. The loss of independence didn't mean loss of influence. 90% of Italy was Catholic, and even Mussolini, the fascist dictator, could not ignore the Pope, and gave the papacy Vatican City as an independent nation, giving them the independence they needed to control the religion. But that concession did not stop the Pope, at the time, Leo XI, from attacking totalitarian dictatorships. Leo XI launched encyclicals attacking the Third Reich and instituted the Feast of Christ the King to remind Christians of their loyalty to Christ, not to Hitler, Stalin, or even Mussolini. Other popes have continued to fight iniquity and secularity, with many scholars who are Italians and many pontifical universities in Italy making the papacy a powerful cultural force in the Italian peninsula and the world. Italia ha un problema. Il divisio da secolare e religione in cultura. The issue of religion in Italy is whether religion or secularism will dominate Italian culture. Italy is plagued by the atheistic pressure of the European culture, which stresses contraception, abortion, and homosexual marriage, which are contrary to Catholic theology. However, the majority of Italians are Catholic. Also, there is a growing Islamic population in Italy, so the religion question will continue to plague Italy, and its role is ever-changing, but far from over, far from finished. It's still there. This has been Eduardo. Ciao.